Since the end of martial law in 1987, Taiwan has experienced a gradual, peaceful political transition to establish genuine democracy. With the 30th anniversary of the lifting of martial law in Taiwan, the island has made some significant progress over the years in human rights protection. Taiwan's ruling to remove the legal definition of marriage as between a man and a woman is a significant development in Asia, where there's no country yet which allowed same-sex marriage. Despite not being a UN member, Taiwan has ratified the UN's two major human rights treaties, namely, the Executive Yuan also approved a draft bill to set up the National Human Rights Museum. Besides, Taiwan has also taken a number of active steps to introduce domestic refugee legislation. Since July 2016, a draft refugee bill has been sitting within the Legislative Yuan pending passage through the various legislative processes.
Most commentators may doubt whether if we now have a new law to protect refugees, whether our national safety risk will be also therefore be increased. So we hope Legislative Yuan may overcome the doubt and pass the bill in the near future.
Despite these efforts and milestones, human trafficking and other human rights violations such as exploitation of workers, overcrowding on a fishing boat remain a problem. Taiwanese authorities identified 278 victims of human trafficking in 2016, down from 292 in 2014. In the U.S. State Department's 2017 Trafficking in Persons report, Taiwan was listed in the Tier 1 category among the 36 countries, which is the best ranking in the report for the 8th consecutive year. But the report still expressed concerns, which states that the exploitation of migrant workers is among Taiwan's major human rights violations. Such abuse has come under the spotlight recently with a case in which 4 foreign workers were held captive for up to 14 years in Kaohsiung to work in a tofu factory. The expert we interviewed said although Taiwan meets minimum standards for fighting human trafficking, the legal system treats human trafficking as a lesser crime and doles out more lenient sentences, and the nation has to do more to eliminate the problem.
About the tier, though, before once, as I remember, there is 1 year Taiwan was granted tier 2, and at that time, the government started to working on the trafficking law. And after the trafficking law, actually the situation is not really improved. So, for example, the fishing issue, migrant workers issue, is still, their working condition is still very poor. And the most important problem is the placement fee for the migrant workers. People all know that in Taiwan, I mean, Taiwan is so notorious about this problem. People have to pay a lot of loan to come to Taiwan. And even though we have the anti-trafficking law already, the government doesn't pay any attention to this at all.
Of course, there are some other concerns as well. Media freedom is a case in point. Media self-censorship with regard to China, vote buying, violations of legal working hours, also judicial justice, and the lack of barrier-free spaces and accessible transportation systems for persons with disabilities, especially outside Taipei, to name just a few. For example, Taiwan was ranked number 51st, worse than 2015, according to World Press Freedom Index 2016. Taiwan also received score 61, 1 point less than the previous year on the Corruption Perceptions Index for 2016, published by Transparency International. Some legal scholars and politicians said the Justice Ministry was insufficiently independent and conducted politically motivated investigations on politicians. So that's why the percentage of Taiwanese who don't believe in judges increased by 7%. In terms of labor rights and working conditions, many also believe that there is still room for improvement to protect the migrant workers as well as the domestic workers.
There are like 20 240,000 domestic workers. No day off, serve our elders, and do what we should do for us. And for decades, there is nothing improved. And Tsai Ing-wen agree or promise that she's going to improve the working conditions. She's going to set up the law, legalize the working condition regulation for those domestic workers, so that at least they can stay in Taiwan as a human, not a slave. But how many days passed? She didn't do anything yet.
Noting that Taiwan's room for maneuver internationally is already very limited, the country's image will only get worse if it cannot reduce the discrimination and abuse foreign fishermen and migrant workers facing Taiwan. That's why the government has set up Foreign Worker Direct Hire Service Center in the hope to get rid of the exploitation from brokers. There were also cases of granting permanent resident status to asylum seekers, and we hope there will be established policy regarding refugees in place in the near future. Not to mention that Taiwan scored 91 in Freedom in the World 2017 survey. That's even better than the performance of the United States. We have some laws and relevant agencies and departments in place, and now the top priority is for them to enforce laws and to make those agencies function well as they should be.